You stand at the edge of a vast, living landscape. Before you, countless possible futures stretch outward, like paths through mist and light. In one, the work you have carried quietly in your heart finally finds its audience and begins to ripple outward. In another, the conversation you have rehearsed 1,000 times unfolds with unexpected grace, and something long fractured begins to heal. In still another, your body feels at ease in ways you have almost forgotten were possible. These versions are not yet fixed. They hover in a state of vivid potential, each one complete in its own right, waiting. It is a little like the old quantum thought experiment, only now the box contains your own life. Just as the famous cat was understood to be both alive and dead until the moment of observation, your desired future exists in many overlapping versions at once. Nothing has forced it to choose a single shape. The question that rises naturally is this: what determines which of these possible lives you will actually step into and inhabit? For centuries, the prevailing picture of reality gave a clear, if somewhat grim answer. The universe was imagined as an enormous machine whose every movement was already determined by what had come before. Your future was simply the inevitable result of prior causes, as fixed and predictable as the trajectory of a stone once it has left the hand. There was little room for genuine surprise, little room for you to matter in any fundamental way. The story was already written. You were merely reading your lines. Quantum physics quietly dismantled that machine. At the smallest scales, reality refused to behave like solid, predictable objects clicking into place. Instead, it presented itself as fields of potential, clouds of probability that had not yet resolved into one definite outcome. The very act of looking, of measuring, of participating seemed to influence which possibility became actual. Distant particles remained mysteriously linked, as though the notion of separate locations was only a convenient story we told ourselves. The universe began to look less like a clockwork and more like an ongoing conversation, in which observation itself carried weight. This book is an exploration of what becomes possible when we take these insights seriously, not as literal instructions for rewriting the laws of physics with our thoughts, but as precise and powerful metaphors for how reality actually behaves. When we let the quantum view reshape our understanding of possibility, attention, intention, and action, we gain a new way of participating in the futures that are trying to emerge through us. We stop relating to life as passive passengers on a fixed track and begin to sense the branching paths that are always present, always available to be nourished or neglected by the quality of our presence. I want to be honest with you from the beginning. Mainstream physics does not claim that human thought directly collapses wave functions in everyday circumstances, or that simply picturing a desired result is sufficient to bring it into being without corresponding shifts in perception, emotion, and behavior. Those stronger claims often move beyond what the evidence supports. Yet, the core principles that quantum theory has revealed, the participatory nature of observation, the primacy of fields and relationships over isolated objects, the way probability becomes actuality through interaction, offer conceptual tools of remarkable depth. When these tools are placed alongside what psychology and lived experience have taught us about attention, belief, emotional coherence, and sustained action, they become genuinely practical. They help us see more clearly how certain futures are made more or less likely by the way we show up. Over the hour we will spend together, we will travel through 6 interwoven movements of understanding. We will look first at reality itself as a field of living potential, rather than a collection of finished things. We will examine what it really means to observe, how the quality and consistency of our attention can bring certain possibilities into sharper relief, while allowing others to remain diffuse. We will explore the deeper architecture of intention, how aims that are emotionally resonant and coherent can function as organizing forces within the larger patterns of our lives. We will consider the surprising ways emotion and embodiment tune our perception, making us more or less able to notice the openings that already exist around us. We will investigate the necessary partnership between inner alignment and outer movement, the ways inspired and well-timed action interacts with probability to turn faint possibilities into lived circumstances. And finally, we will look at how all of these elements come together as a sustainable way of being, rather than a technique we apply only when we want something specific. This is not an invitation to bypass effort or to treat the universe as a vending machine that delivers outcomes in exchange for the right visualization. What it offers is something quieter and ultimately more powerful. A disciplined way of seeing and participating that makes you more perceptive to opportunity, more creative in the face of uncertainty, more honest about the inner patterns that have kept certain doors closed, and more effective at taking the steps that allow desired futures to become actual. The work is inner, but its effects are unmistakably outer. You change the one who meets each moment, and therefore, you change which moments become available. If you are willing to bring both an open heart and a discerning mind to test what you hear against your own direct experience, rather than accepting it on faith, then you are already standing where the real journey begins. The quantum realm of infinite possibilities is not a distant theory, reserved for laboratories. It is the living ground beneath every choice you make. Let us step into it together, beginning with the most fundamental question of all. What does it mean for a future to be possible in the first place? Chapter 1: The Quantum Fabric of Reality, Superposition, and the Open Future. We begin with the foundation. Before we can speak meaningfully about participating in the futures we desire, we need to understand what contemporary physics actually reveals about the nature of reality itself. Not the comforting stories we sometimes repeat, but the strange and precise picture that emerges when we look carefully at how the world behaves at its smallest scales. Consider one of the simplest, yet most revealing experiments ever performed. In a quiet laboratory, a source emits tiny particles, photons of light or electrons, toward a thin barrier. In that barrier are cut 2 narrow slits, placed close together. Beyond the barrier stands a sensitive screen that can record the arrival of each particle as a tiny flash or mark. When the experiment runs, and no attempt is made to learn which slit any particular particle passes through, the pattern that slowly builds on the screen is unexpected. Instead of 2 simple clusters of marks, as one might anticipate from tiny solid objects traveling through one opening or the other, a series of alternating bright and dark bands appears across the entire screen. This is an interference pattern, the unmistakable signature of waves overlapping. Where the waves from each slit reinforce one another, the screen brightens. Where they cancel each other out, darkness appears. The particles are behaving as if each one had explored both paths at once and interfered with itself. Yet, the moment a detector is placed at the slits to determine which path each particle actually takes, everything changes. The interference pattern vanishes. In its place appear two clean, separate bands of impacts. Exactly what we would expect if the particles were ordinary, localized objects, traveling through only one slit or the other. The simple act of gaining information about the path alters the outcome. The particles no longer behave as waves. They behave as particles following a single, definite route. This is wave-particle duality. At the quantum scale, the building blocks of matter and energy refuse to fit neatly into our everyday categories. Their behavior depends on the nature of our interaction with them. When we remain ignorant of the specific path, they explore multiple possibilities simultaneously. When we obtain definite information, they resolve into one definite behavior. The state in which a quantum system explores multiple possibilities at once is called superposition. It is not merely that we do not yet know which path was taken. The system itself has not yet resolved into a single actuality. All allowed possibilities remain present together in the mathematical description until something interacts with the system in a way that reveals definite information. That description is carried by what physicists call the wave function, a kind of probability cloud that spreads across every outcome the system is permitted to have. Now, let this picture reach gently beyond the laboratory walls. The future you long for, the restored relationship, the work that feels alive, the health that allows you to move through your days with ease, does not exist as one fixed and inevitable script already written somewhere ahead of you. It exists instead as a cloud of overlapping possibilities, each carrying its own likelihood, shaped by everything that has come before. Multiple versions of tomorrow are, in this sense, already present as real potential. Nothing has yet forced the situation to collapse into only one of them. Your life is not a finished film, already playing on a screen. It is more like a living field of potential scenes, still waiting to be brought into focus through interaction. Physicists have offered different ways of understanding what this openness really means. One widely discussed view, known as the Copenhagen interpretation, places special emphasis on the moment of measurement. According to this understanding, the wave function represents our most complete description of the system before any observation occurs. When a measurement is made, that is to say, when information is gained about a particular property, the wave function collapses. All other possibilities drop away, and only one definite outcome remains. Before that measurement, the system did not possess a single, predetermined value in the way a classical object would. The interaction itself brings a definite reality into being. A strikingly different approach, called the many worlds interpretation, proposes that every possible outcome actually occurs. When a measurement takes place, the universe branches. In one branch, the particle passed through the left slit, and you observe that result. In another branch, it passed through the right slit, and a different version of you registers the different result. Both branches are equally real. There is no mysterious collapse of possibilities. There is only continuous branching into parallel streams of reality, each experienced fully by its own version of events. What we call the outcome is simply the branch we happen to inhabit. These interpretations differ profoundly in their picture of what exists. Yet, both agree on something essential and liberating. Reality at its foundation is not the rigid, predetermined machine that classical physics once imagined. It contains genuine openness. Multiple possibilities coexist until interaction resolves them into the version we experience. This openness appears in another fundamental feature of quantum theory. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle tells us that certain pairs of properties cannot be known with complete precision at the same time. The more accurately we determine a particle's position, the less accurately we can know its momentum. This limit is not a flaw in our instruments or our cleverness. It is woven into the fabric of nature itself. There is an irreducible indeterminacy at the heart of physical reality. The future is not fixed in every microscopic detail by what has already happened. There remains room for genuine novelty, for outcomes that are not completely dictated by prior conditions. If this is the world we inhabit, then the old mechanical story of a single, inevitable future begins to loosen its hold. Your life is not a train, running on rails that were welded into place long before you arrived. It is more like a river, moving through a landscape that offers many possible channels. Some channels are wider and more probable than others because of the shape of the land and the momentum of the water. Yet, the river can still respond. It can carve new paths when conditions shift. Your choices, your attention, and the quality of your presence are part of the interaction that shapes which channels deepen and which remain only faint possibilities. This realization carries a quiet but profound freedom. Conscious participation is not an illusion we maintain in a universe that has already decided everything without us. It is a real feature of how reality unfolds at its deepest levels. The futures you desire exist as genuine possibilities within the field of what can happen. Your task is not to force the world to obey your private will, but to understand how to interact with that field in ways that make certain outcomes more probable and more aligned with what you truly value. And yet, this understanding immediately raises a further question. If the outcome of a quantum process depends so intimately on the nature of the interaction, then what does it truly mean to interact? What does it mean to observe, to measure, to participate? Who or what is doing the looking? And how might the quality of that looking already be shaping what comes into view? These questions point us toward the subtle and powerful role of the observer, a role we will explore together next. Chapter 2: The Observer Effect, Consciousness and the Collapse of Possibilities. In the previous chapter, we saw that reality at its foundation is not a single fixed track, but a field of overlapping possibilities. Multiple versions of events exist together in superposition until something interacts with the system in a way that brings one version into actuality. This naturally raises the most intriguing and debated question in quantum physics. What exactly constitutes that interaction? What role does observation or measurement play in determining which possibility becomes the one we experience? In the technical language of quantum mechanics, the term observer does not refer to a conscious human being standing outside the experiment and watching. It refers to any physical interaction capable of extracting information from the system. When a detector is placed at the slits in the double-slit experiment, the interference pattern disappears because the particle becomes entangled with the detector and, through it, with the surrounding environment. Countless tiny interactions with air molecules, stray photons, and the detector itself disrupt the delicate coherence of the superposition. This process is known as decoherence. The system loses its ability to behave as a single wave exploring multiple paths, and instead settles into one definite, particle-like outcome. In this standard understanding, consciousness is not required. The environment itself performs the measurement through ordinary physical processes. Yet, this technical account has not closed the deeper philosophical conversation. Some thinkers, most notably the mathematician John von Neumann and the physicist Eugene Wigner, explored the possibility that consciousness plays a fundamental role. They followed the chain of physical interactions, from the particle to the detector, from the detector to the laboratory instruments, from the instruments to the brain, and asked where the transition from possibility to actuality finally occurs. If every physical system can itself exist in superposition, then the chain must eventually reach something that is not itself describable as a physical system in superposition. That something, they proposed, is conscious awareness. Only when a conscious mind registers the result does the wave function collapse, and a single reality becomes definite. This remains one interpretation among several, and it is not the working consensus among most physicists today. It is, however, a serious and intellectually honest attempt to address the measurement problem, the unresolved question of precisely where and how the shift from many possibilities to one actuality takes place. Even if we set aside the stronger philosophical claims that human consciousness directly collapses wave functions in laboratory settings, we can still draw a responsible and deeply practical parallel in our own lives. The quality of your attention and the clarity of your intention profoundly shape which possibilities you notice, which ones you consider worth acting upon, and therefore, which ones have a genuine chance to become your lived experience. In everyday life, observation is never a neutral recording of a reality that is already fully fixed. It is an active process of selection and emphasis. Where you consistently place your focus determines what enters your field of awareness. What enters your awareness shapes the range of actions you perceive as available. And the actions you take, even small ones, alter the conditions that make certain futures more or less probable. This is what we might call intentional observation, a capacity that can be developed with practice. It is the difference between drifting through your days in a diffuse state of vague hope that something better will appear and deliberately directing your attention toward the qualities, outcomes, and openings you wish to strengthen. Intentional observation is not about forcing reality to rearrange itself according to your private wishes. It is about becoming more precise, more present, and more discerning in how you engage with the field of possibilities that already surrounds you. When you observe with care and consistency, you begin to register signals and openings that were always present, but previously remained outside your awareness. You notice connections that others might overlook. You become more available to the quiet prompts that arise when your inner orientation aligns with circumstances that are already in motion. Consider the experience of a man who had spent several years feeling quietly stuck in a career that no longer fit him. He had read books, attended workshops, and tried many times to visualize a different path, yet nothing substantial changed. One day, he made a simple but decisive shift. Instead of scanning his days primarily for evidence of limitation and frustration, he began to observe more deliberately for moments of genuine engagement, a task that felt slightly more alive, a conversation that left him energized rather than depleted, a quiet pull of curiosity toward a subject he had previously dismissed. He did not yet know how these fragments would connect or what they might lead to. He simply observed them with greater intention and wrote down what he noticed. Over the following months, patterns began to appear that he had not seen before. One small thread led to a conversation he would otherwise have avoided. That conversation opened a door he had not known existed. Within a year, he had moved into work that felt meaningfully aligned with his deeper interests. The external conditions had not magically transformed overnight. What had changed was the quality of his looking, and therefore what he was able to see and responsibly move toward. Skepticism toward these ideas is entirely reasonable, and it serves us to speak plainly about the boundaries. If we claim that focused observation alone, without any change in behavior or engagement with actual circumstances, is sufficient to bring about significant transformation, we set ourselves up for repeated disappointment and quiet self-reproach. The real power does not reside in observation in isolation. It emerges when clear intention, focused and sustained attention, honest psychological alignment, and inspired action are brought into relationship with one another. Observation without corresponding movement remains a private wish. Action without clear and consistent observation often scatters energy across too many directions at once. When these elements are joined, when you look with precision and then move in the direction you're looking reveals, the probability of meaningful and sustainable change rises substantially. Yet, attention and intention do not operate in isolation from the rest of reality. They move within larger fields of connection and influence that extend beyond any single person or moment. These fields carry their own structures, patterns, and forms of resonance. Understanding how our observations and intentions interact with these larger patterns of connection brings us to the next layer of our exploration. Chapter 3: The Quantum Field and the Resonance of Desire. We have been exploring how the quality of our observation participates in bringing certain possibilities into sharper focus. Now, it is time to step back and consider the deeper substrate within which all observation and intention take place. Beneath the particles we can detect and the measurements we can perform lies something more fundamental: the quantum fields that give rise to everything we experience as matter, energy, and form. In quantum field theory, the most precise framework we currently have for describing the physical world, what we call particles, are not tiny, solid objects moving through empty space. They are better understood as localized excitations or ripples in invisible fields that extend throughout the entire universe. An electron is a ripple in the electron field. A photon of light is a ripple in the electromagnetic field. These fields are not something added to space. They are the very fabric of space itself. Even the vacuum, the region we once imagined as completely empty, is not empty at all. It is a dynamic, seething sea of potential. Virtual particles flicker into brief existence and vanish again, in accordance with the uncertainty principle. This ground state of the fields carries what physicists call zero-point energy, a minimum level of restless activity that remains even when every ordinary particle has been removed. The vacuum is alive with possibility, humming with the potential for form to arise. Drawing an inspirational parallel from this picture, we can begin to sense how our own inner states might interact with this universal field of potential. Our thoughts, emotions, and intentions can be understood as subtle patterns or vibrations that move through and influence the larger field in which we are embedded. Just as a radio can be tuned to receive one clear station while the surrounding frequencies remain present but unheard, we can learn to bring the patterns of our inner life into greater resonance with the qualities and outcomes we most desire. This is not a claim that our minds directly manipulate quantum fields in any laboratory sense. It is an invitation to consider how the coherence and character of what we cultivate within ourselves may align us with possibilities that are already latent in the deeper structure of reality. One of the most practical avenues for strengthening this alignment lies in the cultivation of emotional coherence. When our thoughts, feelings, and bodily rhythms move into greater harmony, rather than working against one another, we become clearer transmitters and more sensitive receivers. Research in the spirit of the HeartMath Institute has explored how the heart's rhythm, when it becomes more ordered and coherent through practices of appreciation or focused breathing, sends more orderly signals to the brain. This physiological coherence is associated with reduced stress reactivity, greater emotional stability, and an enhanced capacity to perceive subtle connections and opportunities. A coherent inner state allows our intentions to move through the field with less static and greater clarity. We become more attuned to the resonances that match the qualities we are embodying. Clarity and emotional intensity function like strong, coherent signals. When you hold a clear vision of a desired outcome and feel it with genuine emotional resonance, not as anxious striving, but as a steady, embodied sense of alignment, you generate a more organized pattern within your own being. This pattern interacts more constructively with corresponding possibilities in the larger environment. By contrast, inner conflict generates a kind of noise. When one part of you deeply longs for a particular future while another part fears it, doubts your worthiness, or clings to old stories of limitation, the signal becomes contradictory. The field receives a muddled transmission, and the probability of coherent unfolding decreases. The quality of what you consistently broadcast matters as much as the surface content of what you intend. This understanding points toward a still deeper recognition. The field does not respond only to what you say you want. It responds to who you are being while you are wanting it. If your desire for a new chapter in your life is entangled with resentment toward the present, or with a hidden belief that you must struggle to deserve what you seek, those qualities become part of the pattern you offer. If your wanting arises from a place of appreciation for what already exists, from a quiet trust in your own capacity to meet what arrives, and from a genuine sense of alignment with the outcome itself, then the signal carries a different character. The field, in this metaphorical sense, is not a passive vending machine that delivers on command. It is more like a responsive medium that amplifies and reflects the patterns you consistently embody through your attention, your emotion, and your way of being. And yet, these patterns do not unfold in isolation. They move within a web of connections that extend far beyond the boundaries classical physics once considered absolute. Intentions and observations can appear to influence events across distances and in timings, that suggest a deeper, non-local order at work. Meaningful coincidences and synchronicities begin to appear less as random accidents and more as expressions of this underlying connectivity. This territory of non-local connection and meaningful coincidence invites us into the exploration that lies ahead. Chapter 4: Entanglement and Synchronicity, the Connected Web of Manifestation. Once we learn to resonate with greater clarity within the quantum field of potential, something important shifts in our experience. We discover that we are not isolated transmitters, sending signals into an indifferent medium. We are participants in a vast, interconnected web, where our inner states can become linked with people, opportunities, resources, and events that support the unfolding we desire. This is the territory of entanglement and synchronicity. In quantum physics, entanglement is one of the most experimentally verified and philosophically challenging phenomena. When two or more particles are created or interact in certain ways, they become correlated. Their properties, such as spin or polarization, remain linked, no matter how far apart they later travel. Measuring one particle instantly determines the corresponding property of the other, even if they are separated by light years. This is not a matter of one particle sending a signal to the other at faster than light speed. It is a deeper correlation built into the relationship itself. Experiments inspired by John Bell's theorem and carried out by physicists such as Alain Aspect and many others since, have repeatedly confirmed that these correlations cannot be explained by any local hidden variables or classical communication. The connection is non-local. The particles behave as if they remain part of a single system, even when spatially separated. Drawing from this established physics, we can responsibly extend the insight into the domain of personal transformation. Our intentions and inner states can become entangled with the people, circumstances, and resources that align with a desired outcome. When you hold a clear and coherent intention, you may begin to notice that supportive elements start appearing in your life in ways that feel improbably well-timed. A conversation opens a door you did not know existed. A resource arrives exactly when you need it. An unexpected encounter shifts your trajectory. These are not random accidents in a purely mechanical universe. They are the experiential evidence of deeper connections becoming visible through your participation. The psychologist Carl Jung gave language to this kind of meaningful connection long before quantum non-locality was widely discussed. He described synchronicity as an acausal connecting principle, events that are linked not by direct mechanical causation, but by shared meaning. A dream, an inner image, or a strong intention coincides with an outer event that carries the same significance, even though no causal chain seems to connect them. Jung saw these moments as expressions of a deeper order in which psyche and matter participate in a unified reality. Quantum entanglement offers a physical framework that beautifully complements this psychological insight. Both point to a universe in which separation is only part of the story, and connection runs deeper than classical intuition allows. How then do we consciously work with this connected web? The practice begins with setting a clear intention, while remaining genuinely open to pathways you cannot yet imagine. You clarify the essence of what you seek, not a rigid script of how it must arrive, and you hold that essence with emotional coherence. At the same time, You stay alert to meaningful coincidences without forcing them into a predetermined shape. When a synchronicity appears, you pause and ask what it might be revealing. You follow the thread with discernment, rather than demanding that every coincidence deliver exactly what you pictured. You take the small, inspired actions that the coincidence makes possible. In this way, you participate in the web rather than trying to control it from outside. It is essential to speak plainly about the limits of this understanding. Entanglement in the quantum sense does not mean you can reach into another person's life and rearrange their choices according to your desires. It does not grant permission to bypass the laws of physics, probability, or ethical responsibility. It does not turn the universe into a personal wish fulfillment machine. What it offers is a more accurate picture of participation. You become a more attuned node in a living network. Your clear and coherent presence increases the likelihood that supportive connections will become available, but it never overrides the autonomy of others or the integrity of the larger system. The power lies in attunement, not in domination. Yet, the clarity with which you can participate in this web depends on the quality of your own inner field. The beliefs you carry, the emotional patterns you have habituated, and the unconscious assumptions that shape your perception all determine how cleanly your intentions can entangle with the outcomes you seek. When inner conflict or limiting stories remain unexamined, they create static that weakens the connection. When you bring greater honesty and coherence to your own being, the web responds with greater fidelity. This recognition brings us to the essential inner work that makes conscious participation sustainable, the work we will explore together next. Chapter 5: Quantum Self-Mastery, Clearing Resistance and Reprogramming the Inner Observer. Even when intention is clear and resonance with the field feels strong, many people still encounter persistent blocks. The desired future remains just out of reach, or it arrives only partially, or it seems to dissolve when pressure increases. These blocks rarely come from a lack of knowledge about manifestation principles. They arise from deeper layers of the self that continue to operate from old programs. Programs written long before we understood we had any choice in the matter. In the language we have been developing, these limiting beliefs and subconscious patterns function like hidden variables. They quietly bias the system so that certain possibilities are collapsed into limited or undesired versions, long before we ever become consciously aware of them. Just as hidden variables in early quantum theory were proposed to explain away apparent randomness, these unconscious patterns act as sources of decoherence. They scatter the coherence of our intention and pull the emerging reality back toward familiar, often painful outcomes. Unexamined stories about worthiness, safety, belonging, or what is possible for someone like you create powerful filters. Trauma responses that once protected you now tighten around new opportunities, interpreting them as threats. Identity-level beliefs, the deep sense of "this is who I am," can resist change, even when the conscious mind sincerely desires it. These patterns do not simply sit passively in the background. They actively shape which branches of the future you are able to perceive and move toward. They are forms of resistance encoded in the observer itself. This is where quantum self-mastery begins. Rather than trying to force external circumstances while the inner observer remains misaligned, we turn our attention to updating the internal model. We engage in what we might call quantum self-engineering, the deliberate work of bringing the one who observes and intends into greater coherence with the future we wish to inhabit. When the observer becomes clearer, the field responds with less distortion. Possibilities that once collapsed prematurely now remain open long enough for aligned action to meet them. Several approaches support this inner engineering. Meditation and mindfulness practice reduce the constant mental noise that keeps the system in a state of low-level decoherence. When attention is trained to rest in the present moment, the constant chatter of old stories loses some of its grip. Subconscious reprogramming techniques work more directly with the deeper layers. Affirmations become effective when spoken from a relaxed, receptive state, and paired with genuine emotional feeling rather than mechanical repetition. Visualization gains power when it is embodied, when you feel the desired reality in your body, as if it is already present. Heart's work and inner child dialogue allow conflicting aspects of the self to be heard and integrated, instead of remaining in hidden opposition. Somatic and embodiment practices address the patterns stored in the nervous system and tissues. Breath, movement, and gentle touch can release long-held contractions that no logical argument ever reaches. Let us practice one such process together now. This is a guided quantum reprogramming exercise designed to release one specific limiting pattern and install a more supportive one. You may pause the recording at any point if you need more time. Settle into a comfortable position where you will not be disturbed. Allow your eyes to close if that feels right. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, letting each exhale soften the body a little more. Bring to mind one limiting pattern that has been active in your life. It might be a belief such as, "I am not enough, I always sabotage myself," or "change is dangerous." Speak it gently to yourself without judgment. Now, notice where this pattern lives in your body. Perhaps it creates a tightness in the chest, a heaviness in the belly, or a subtle contraction somewhere else. Breathe into that area. With each inhale, bring awareness there. With each exhale, allow a little more space. When you are ready, speak these words inwardly or aloud with quiet conviction. I release the old story that no longer serves me. I thank it for what it once tried to protect, and I let it go. Feel the words move through the body. Imagine the pattern loosening, like ice melting under gentle warmth, or a heavy garment slipping from your shoulders. Take 3 more breaths, and with each exhale repeat softly, "I release, I release, I release." Now, choose a new, supportive pattern you wish to install. It might be, "I am worthy of the life I desire. I am safe to expand," or "My presence opens doors." Speak this new statement in the present tense, as if it is already true. Feel it in your body. Where does this new pattern want to live? Perhaps it brings warmth to the heart, lightness in the chest, or a quiet strength in the spine. Breathe into that sensation. Let the feeling grow stronger with each breath. Repeat the new statement 3 times, allowing the emotion to deepen. Notice how the body responds. If any doubt or old pattern tries to return, simply breathe and return to the feeling of the new statement. You are not arguing with the old. You are installing the new with greater coherence. Place one hand on your heart and one on your belly if that feels supportive. Breathe gently between them. Whisper or speak inwardly. The observer within me is becoming clearer. I am aligned with the future I am here to live. Rest in this awareness for a few moments. When you are ready, slowly open your eyes and return to the room, carrying this new coherence with you. This kind of inner work is not separate from outer movement. Small, aligned actions function as quantum leaps in the system. They introduce new information, new measurements, new interactions that open previously unavailable branches. When you act from the reprogrammed state, even in tiny ways that honor the new pattern, you create fresh correlations in the field. The web responds. New connections become possible because you have changed the quality of the observer who is looking. Now that the inner observer has been invited into greater clarity and alignment, we are ready to bring every thread together. Intention, observation, resonance, entanglement, and self-mastery can be woven into a living daily protocol that turns understanding into sustained transformation. This is the synthesis we will explore in our final chapter. Chapter 6: The Quantum Manifestation Protocol. Practical steps to materialize your desired future. We have traveled through the quantum view of reality as a field of possibilities, the power of observation to participate in which possibilities become actual, the resonance of coherent inner states with that field, the non-local connections that reveal themselves as synchronicity, and the inner mastery required to clear resistance within the observer itself. Now, we bring all of these threads into one coherent, repeatable process you can use in daily life. This is the Quantum Manifestation Protocol. You begin with superposition clarification. You take time to define the desired future, not as a single rigid picture, but as a vivid, multi-sensory sense of the essence you wish to experience. You imagine the feelings in your body, the quality of your relationships, the atmosphere of your work or creative expression, the sense of meaning and vitality. At the same time, you deliberately leave the specific pathways open. You do not dictate exactly how the outcome must arrive. You hold the end state with clarity while remaining open to multiple routes the field may offer. For example, a person seeking meaningful work might clarify the feeling of contribution, creative flow, and respectful collaboration, without locking into one particular job title or company. From this clarified sense, you move into state preparation. You intentionally shift your inner state into greater coherence before you engage the process more deeply. You might sit quietly and follow your breath until the mind settles. You might place attention on the heart and cultivate a feeling of appreciation or calm confidence, allowing the heart's rhythm to become more ordered. Some people use a short meditation or body scan to release scattered energy. The goal is to become a clearer, more aligned observer, one whose inner patterns are not broadcasting static or contradiction. When your state is coherent, the signal you send into the field carries less distortion. With your state prepared, you enter the heart of the protocol, intentional observation, sometimes called the collapse practice. You bring the clarified future into vivid awareness, while feeling it as already real. This is not anxious hoping or future fantasy. It is a present tense embodiment of the wish fulfilled. You might use quiet visualization, or you might write a short, quantum script in which you describe a day in the desired future as if it is happening now, in first person and present tense. You feel the emotions that belong to that reality. You let the body register the new pattern. From this felt state, you gently release the visualization and rest in the knowing that you have participated in selecting one branch of possibility. The protocol does not end in the inner realm. You move immediately into quantum signaling through action. You take one or more small, inspired actions that demonstrate commitment and introduce new information into reality. These actions need not be dramatic. They might be sending an email, having a conversation, rearranging your environment, or simply behaving for the rest of the day as someone who already lives in greater alignment with the desired future. Each action functions like a measurement in the quantum sense. It creates new correlations and opens branches that were not accessible before. For example, a person clarifying a creative project might spend 10 minutes outlining the first scene or reaching out to one potential collaborator. The action signals to the field and to the self that the possibility is being taken seriously. You then cultivate detachment and trust. Having done the inner and outer work, you release attachment to specific timelines and particular forms. You stay open to the intelligence of the field, allowing outcomes to arrive through pathways you could not have predicted. This is not passive waiting. It is active trust combined with continued gentle attention. In the spirit of the many worlds perspective, you recognize that multiple versions of events continue to exist and that your ongoing coherence keeps you more available to the branches that match your clarified intention. You go about your life with relaxed alertness rather than anxious monitoring. Finally, you engage feedback and amplification. You notice what the field returns to you: synchronicities, unexpected openings, inner shifts, or even apparent obstacles that carry information. You track these responses without judgment and adjust your clarity or actions accordingly. Evidence of movement, however small, is amplified by appreciation and continued practice. Momentum compounds. What began as a single act of observation becomes a living conversation between you and the larger web of possibility. To help you experience the entire protocol in a single sitting, here is a complete daily quantum manifestation session you can use. Find a quiet place. Settle your body. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Take 3 slow breaths, allowing each exhale to soften any tension you are holding. Bring to mind the essence of one desired future. See it, hear it, feel it in your body. Notice the emotions that arise when this future is present. Let those feelings grow stronger with each breath. Now, speak inwardly in present tense. This is my reality. I am living this now. Feel the truth of those words in your cells. Rest in that embodied knowing for a few moments. When you are ready, release the specific images while keeping the feeling. Whisper or speak. I have participated in selecting this branch. I now trust the intelligence of the field to bring it into form through the pathways that serve the whole. Breathe into trust. Let any urgency or forcing dissolve on the exhale. Place one hand on your heart. Ask quietly, what is one small action I can take today that signals my commitment? Listen without forcing an answer. When a simple step arises, acknowledge it. You do not need to act immediately. You simply register it. Now, return your attention to the breath. With each inhale, draw in clarity and coherence. With each exhale, release attachment to how and when. Feel yourself as both participant and witness in a living field of possibilities. When you are ready, gently open your eyes and carry this state into the next moments of your day. You can practice this full session once each day, perhaps in the morning or before sleep. The entire process need not take more than 10 or 15 minutes. Throughout the day, you simply maintain a gentle awareness of the clarified essence and take any inspired microactions that present themselves. Consistency matters more than intensity. Sporadic dramatic efforts create less coherent signals than steady, embodied participation. Common pitfalls arise when the protocol is misunderstood. Forcing or trying to control every detail or outcome reintroduces resistance and collapses possibilities prematurely. The remedy is to return to detachment and trust after each session. Inconsistency, that is, practicing only when motivation is high, weakens the compounding effect. The remedy is to treat the daily session as a non-negotiable alignment practice rather than an optional technique. Neglecting inner work, that is, attempting to manifest while old limiting patterns remain unexamined, produces mixed results. The remedy is to weave the self-mastery practices from the previous chapter into your routine, so the observer itself becomes clearer over time. This protocol is not a one-time ritual you perform until you get what you want and then abandon. It is a new way of moving through life. You clarify what matters, prepare your state, observe intentionally, signal through action, trust the larger intelligence, and respond to feedback with humility and appreciation. In doing so, you stop relating to the future as something that happens to you and begin living as a conscious participant in which futures come into being through you. This is the quiet revolution the quantum view makes possible. Conclusion. You have traveled through the living architecture of reality. You have seen how the universe presents itself not as a fixed machine, but as a vast field of overlapping possibilities. You have explored how your attention participates in which possibilities become actual, how coherent inner states resonate with that field, how non-local connections reveal themselves through meaningful coincidence, and how the quality of the observer within you determines how cleanly those connections can form. Finally, you have been given a practical protocol that turns understanding into daily participation. This is not the end of a book. It is the beginning of a new relationship with your own life. The quantum manifestor's way of being emerges naturally from everything we have shared. You clarify the essence of what you desire while leaving the pathways open. You prepare your inner state until it carries less static and more coherence. You observe intentionally from the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Then you signal that clarity through small, inspired actions that create new information in the world. You release attachment to specific timelines and trust the intelligence of the larger web. You notice what returns to you and adjust with humility and appreciation. You tend the inner observer so that old patterns no longer collapse possibilities prematurely. And you remember that the most powerful manifestations arise when your desires are aligned with the well-being of the whole. This way of being is not a technique you apply until you obtain a particular result and then set aside. It is a lifestyle of conscious participation. Every day becomes an opportunity to clarify, to align, to act, to trust, and to respond. Manifestation ceases to be something you do in order to get somewhere and becomes the natural expression of how you move through reality. The future is no longer a distant destination you are trying to reach. It is a living field you are continuously shaping through the quality of your presence. As this way of being deepens, a natural ethical dimension reveals itself. The intentions that carry the greatest power and the least resistance are those that serve not only your own fulfillment, but the larger web of life. When your desires are entangled with the flourishing of others, with the health of your relationships, with contribution that extends beyond yourself, the field responds with greater coherence. Selfish grasping creates static. Generous alignment creates resonance. The most elegant manifestations often turn out to be those that bless more than one life. Let us close our time together with one final practice. This is a timeline merge, a future self-embodiment. Settle comfortably. Allow your eyes to close. Take 3 slow breaths, letting each exhale carry you a little deeper into presence. Imagine standing at the edge of many possible futures. You can sense them as shimmering paths stretching outward. One of these paths carries the fullest expression of who you are becoming, the version of you who has integrated everything we have explored. This future self moves with quiet confidence. Their inner state is coherent. Their actions arise from clarity rather than fear. They trust the field while remaining fully engaged with life. Feel the presence of this future self across the branches. Now, gently step onto that path. With each breath, move closer. Notice how this future self feels in their body. The ease in the breath, the steadiness in the heart, the quiet strength in the spine. When you are near enough, turn and face this future self directly. Look into their eyes. See the wisdom and peace that have grown through conscious participation. This future self extends their hands. You take them. In this meeting, something shifts. You begin to feel their coherence entering your own body. Their clarity becomes available to you now. Their trust in the field becomes your trust. Their way of moving through uncertainty becomes your way. You are not pretending. You are merging across probability branches. The distance between who you have been and who you are becoming grows smaller with each breath. Rest in this merged state for a few moments. Feel the future self's presence as your own. When you are ready, thank this version of you and gently release the hands, while keeping the felt sense alive. Know that this coherence travels with you as you return. Take 3 more breaths. When you open your eyes, carry this embodied future into the present moment. You now hold the essential keys. Experiment with the protocol. Journal what you notice. Adjust what does not fit. Share what resonates with others who are walking a similar path. The field is responsive, and your participation matters. You are not a passive observer, waiting for reality to decide your fate. You are a conscious creator, moving through an open and participatory universe. The branches are real. Your attention shapes which ones become your life. Walk forward with clarity, with coherence, with courage, and with care for the whole. The infinite potential you have glimpsed is not somewhere else. It is already moving through you, waiting only for your continued, embodied yes.